Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity upper in corner. Launch starting as the pink Terran, bottom left hand corner. We have Artosis starting as the yellow Terran. I will be interested to see how Launch executes here, because Artosis is definitely the heavy favorite. He is, I think, pretty much without argument the best Terran at the tournament. Nesh is, I'm trying to think of any other Terran that, Nesh is up there, but I think Artosis, being in good practice form, pretty much everybody agree of the Terran that made it to Starcon 2025 that he is the top Terran for sure. And Launch is decent, but Artosis, I think Launch is around C or B level, somewhere around there, where Artosis is A most of the time and dipping into S depending on his form in the meta and other aspects. So out of these two guys, the two things I want to keep an eye on are, one, what are the initial opening strategies? What are the positional plays? And also, as I mentioned, I think in a previous commentary, I want to try to keep an eye on the factory timings out of this, because I will say that Gypsy in particular has actually gotten on Artosis for having a little bit later a factory than he should, which is indicative of not mining optimally or not having some units in place optimally, and not doing kind of the mineral boosting you need to, which has actually become very important at the ANS level. And basically is credited that for a lot, it just pushes everything back, has kind of credited that to multiple instances of Artosis not carrying games that he should. Gas dropped at 138, by the way. And it looks like Launch was ahead of that. We'll see if that turns into a faster factory for him. I'll try to keep an eye on those timings. Overall, I'll even, you know what, I'm going to hotkey it up here. I'm going to hotkey it up here so we can do the rapid switch in between. Hopefully it didn't make anyone dizzy there. But that way we'll be able to keep an eye. Launch sending out a little bit of an earlier scout. Artosis just checking the natural expansion just in case there's something proxied, and going to go ahead and make his way out from there. That'll delay the scouting slightly. I don't think that's going to completely deny scouting either direction though. And Launch certainly is going to be able to, that's one advantage of Eclipse, is since it's a two-player map, you know for certain that you're going to be able to see eyes. 227 factory out here for Launch, and a very late 232 factory for Artosis. I think 223 or something around there is like ultra optimal, and 227 is you know, it's all right. Along those lines, but Launch actually ahead in the initial factory timing. I don't know that he's going to turn that into a victory as far as like, oh yeah, press and things like that, but it does open up some options here in the early game, getting a good eyeful in the midst of everything else, especially if you scout the factory timing underneath that and you know that you're going to be a little bit ahead. Provide some options. 2 Marines constructed, Artosis lifting off that barracks, a barracks lifting off, Launch actually skipping a Marine, which might speed up, 1, the command center, or 2, the second factory, depending on how Launch wants to play this. It looks like this is going to turn into another command center. I feel like skipping that Marine, usually, especially if, and that might have been actually an adjustment on knowing that he got a little bit of a faster factory as well. On distance, Artosis making his way down and is going to be slightly behind, ever so slightly behind here, a second or two. With that, Launch staying near the barracks, maybe wanting to spot it. SCV made it pretty deep in, actually, for Artosis before getting wiped out. The SCV hoping for a spot, but it was spotted by that barracks, yeah. So now it's going to lose its life. Was it able to scout? Okay, he is able to scout the 2 Marines that are sitting at the natural expansion, so Launch knows he needs to play a little bit more defensively here to start. Single SCV back on gas for the moment. More vultures being produced. A earlier second factory here for Launch right this moment. And Artosis going ahead and dropping it. I want to see what the difference is. About 300 health. I don't know what that translates into as far as time goes, but this is going to be a much earlier second factory as well. And you can see where it just kind of, so right now we can just declare Launch the winner and walk away. That's everything, right? Just kidding. Got to keep playing Broodor regardless of what happened here. The barracks floating across one another. Artosis starting to stage forward. It looks like Launch missing a macro cycle here. and so only has 2 vultures on the forward field. The Marine's going to go ahead and push that barracks back because it's only a single Marine here. This is kind of cute. I think Artosis recognizing, I think he might have noticed it was only 1 Marine. So he's attacking the barracks and he's hoping that Launch will move forward with his Marine potentially, or move forward with additional vultures, and that he would be able to get first shot and maybe win a fight as a result. Not turning into that, scouting towards the front, is getting first shot. It's going to be able to wipe out the Marine and get a vulture. With the additional spawning, however, is going to have to back off, but clears up the front a bit. And then with that Marine dead, this barracks has absolutely no threat, so it can just kind of walk out in the field. Artosis is now backing off a bit, and it looks like Launch did back that barracks to midfield. We've got the 3 factories already up, by the way, on Artosis' side of the field. We do have 3 factories opposite side, speed being upgraded a little bit earlier here for Launch. Artosis up 2 SCVs, which isn't nothing. Gonna go ahead and pull the vultures back, pulling the boys back to go ahead and give him some blue sparks. That heals them up, just like in Mario Kart. That's how that works in Mario Kart, right? The blue sparks heal. 4th factory being tacked on for Artosis. I kind of like this play on his part, recognizing that he sees it. He sees that it's just 3 factories and knows that Launch is likely not going to be able to get the same level of information as rapidly. The factory placement also kind of staggered out, so we'll end up with more vultures more rapidly, and and that will turn into a little bit more pressure on the natural expansion, potentially more mine placement. Launch playing forward with his full control group of vultures. We don't have a full control group out for Artosis quite as of yet. Launch has taken a slight supply lead, but look for that to swap around momentarily. Barracks is able to spot all 4. Artosis is floating this back right this second. And otherwise it's dead even. A slight supply lead for Launch, but again won't last, and he's going to have a clutter in his natural expansion. Second gas getting grabbed as well. He's going to have clutter where he can't, is going to have trouble getting his units out because of Artosis' barracks, so that might provide an opportunity for Artosis as well in the forward field. And Launch might actually have to draw back some units to cope with that. Mine's about halfway finished. If the barracks goes into the red, it's starting to go into the red, this is also going to create secondary problems for Launch, where he needs to start building factories rapidly in order to deal with it. It looks like he's going to go ahead and build some supply depot clutter on his front. Artosis leaving the barracks in place. Is he going to plop down an emergency factory? It looks like he's still going to sit. He's happy to sit on 4 and rebuild, it looks like, right this second. But in the meantime, this barracks is gone, and that's going to lock things in for a while. So it's only going to be 3 factories for... never mind, was there another barracks built ahead of time? Where's the other barracks? Oh, it must have been queued up. Interesting. So he queued it right before that barracks died. Cute. And Artosis engaging has dropped some mines, does have the mine and forward field advantage. That was cute from Launch. Emergency SCV queue of the factories, so gave the build command right before the barracks died. That is going to, and going up the 3 machine shops, going to go siege tank heavy. We'll see how Artosis does. He's just now adding a Sega machine shop, is getting siege tech. He is up on workers, has a great degree of map control with this vision right here. Vultures getting pulled out. Looks like they're going to fight a bit before Artosis reinforcing pretty rapidly. And it's going to be a minute. Right now, with the 5 factories, that will be a sizable troop flood. It looks like a command center already being built, by the way, to the 12 o'clock location, 9 o'clock location as well. Vulture sneaking in, but not sniping as of yet. Let's see if Artosis is able to get there. That's a delayed command center up there. But the mines create this problem where even with the Vulture support, as long as Artosis stays nearby, it's very difficult for that siege tank to walk through that siege line. That command center going to get canceled as well, and another siege tank getting wiped out here on the front. So fortunately for Launch, he's got 3 machine shops behind this and should rapidly be able to reconstitute that army. Siege tanks do tend to be the bread and butter of the mid game, but right now, and a couple SCVs getting away from him on rally. Right now, okay, nope. Ends up getting hit on another siege tank, and Artosis, that's going to make it snipeable. Artosis trying to find an angle to go ahead and snipe it. And so we're back down to 1 on the field. Major engagement. There's still more mines out here. More opportunity, and there's still these mines on the corner 9 o'clock base is going to finish much more rapidly. A huge turn in events here. And Artosis also, in the midst of that, off the 4 factories, macroed very, very well. But keep in mind, there were still those 3 machine shops. I don't know that they're rolling that entire time, but we do have the 4 siege tanks in the midst of this. Despite that, Artosis even because of all of the mine activity. There's still a lot of mines here to the south. Launch is going to have to be very, very careful and babysit these troops. As they start moving on the field, it looks like Launch is going to go ahead and mine, but in full view of Artosis, so he knows precisely where they are positioned. More vultures trying to dropping some more mines into these siege tanks. 1 vulture sneaking in. It looks like this is huge. Going to be able to halt that construction once again. So this is going to be a full base up now that Artosis is for the long haul. Launch even on supply, that's actually putting him about 10 supply of army ahead. Comsatting at least able to get some mine clearage to the 12 o'clock location, but there's still this huge minefield to the south. Artosis now tacking on his 5th factory. Has a good amount of idle SCVs though. Unfortunately, it looks like at his natural expansion and his main for half seconds. So despite having a sizable SCV lead, not transitioning into quite as strong an economy, but he's still in a pretty good position. He's actually going to a very healthy 60 workers. That 12 o'clock base looks like it's finally going to be able to get constructed here for launch. That was an extreme delay. Siege tanks sitting on the southern plateau right this second, and this vulture is going to go ahead on permanent patrol command. And this is still, like I said, I hate to use the metaphor of a minefield because it's a literal minefield, but yeah, we got a literal minefield here, and Artosis looks like he's going to get yet another siege tank snipe underneath with his vultures. Or the rest of the siege, at least Launch found a lane, but the 2 siege tanks to the south going to get a few additional free picking kills. Oh, and the mine still harassing and obliterating the siege tanks. There's also a mine underneath that 12 o'clock location, so Launch is still sitting on 2 bases. And Artosis is honestly in a position where he could go ahead and grab another base at the 10 o'clock should he desire to do so. And Launch more or less boxed out of both the 12 o'clock and Artosis already taking position at the 11 o'clock to make sure that Launch can't sneak a rapid additional base. He's going to get good mine coverage here as well. The siege tanks once again walking into a sticky situation. 3 siege tanks grouped up though. Looks like they are going to be able to at least siege forward. Artosis retreating and is grabbing that 10 o'clock base. Is going to need to get some siege tanks up to that corner. I'm looking to see, do we have some, we do have 6 factories, 3rd machine shop getting dropped, science facility to continue the weapons upgrade. I haven't checked weapon upgrade both directions. Looks like we got +1/+1 going on either side. 6 factory dropping for Launch to stay relevant. He is finally got that 12 o'clock location running. Artosis losing a handful of vultures there to the north. He's still got really, really good vision. There's still these mines, which could potentially be an X factor on additional troop movement. Usually at this stage, you'll see some drop ships. Looks like we are seeing a science vessel being constructed to provide some vision support here. But Artosis is in a fantastic position, has a 20 supply lead. He's up a base, will be up a base shortly, and that's just going to compound the advantages he's already got. At 71 workers right this second, which is full saturation. There's a big timer right now for Launch where he's sitting, where if his main mine's out, which will be in about 5 minutes here, if he doesn't get anything done by wiping out a base somewhere, it's going to be trouble. Looks like he was staging up to push on the 10 o'clock. Unfortunately, that's going to open up Artosis. Yeah, pushing at the 10 o'clock. Artosis can just lift this base off, however, and push in and wedge his army right here. And that will shut down Launch's 12 o'clock. And that not only will be a dead base, but this was an active base for Launch, so there'll be a lot of dead SCVs interior to there, and it's going to be very difficult for Launch to push back out, where it'll be very easy for Artosis. He's going to lift that command center off. Okay, there it is. Where it'll be kind of much easier to just draw troops back and to wipe out and clean up the troops at the 10 o'clock base. Especially if he just draws some reinforcements. Yeah, SCV's getting absolutely obliterated. And now it's even worse. You've got, so 3 base mining versus 2 base mining, likely soon to be 4 base mining once again. And the 3rd base has been shut out for launch, so economically behind, his supply has plummeted. Yeah, Artosis now pushing forward. Launch was hoping to get a slight additional presence on that edge and instead walked into siege tank fire. The siege tank's not going to bother and get interior to siege tank range, clean that up. So Artosis now back up to 4 bases, and this Vulture is still remaining active at the 12 o'clock. Also, that command center burning at the 12 o'clock base. Launch, I think, recognizing that he's in a dire situation, trying to regroup up, but these mines right there, able to soften up the troops. And I think Artosis has already anticipated this either through comsats or instinct, has regathered his troops to the southern plateau. The mines have been absolutely fantastic for Artosis all game long. And yeah, it feels appropriate to just end on that glorious explosion center screen. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.